Packing a backpack is a distinctly different skill than packing a suitcase, which is the factor to be considered is the weight of the bag. Because the weight of your bag matters a lot more when you are carrying it on your shoulders rather than dragging it along behind you. Besides, most backpacks have one large compartment that can only be accessed from the top. So by putting things or equipment in the wrong place in the backpack can lead to a major inconvenience later. That's why it's important to know how to pack a backpack in a smart way. Firstly is tent. Tent is a portable shelter while camping. It is where the campers going to sleep and can store a lot of their belongings when at camp. It also provides protection from outside weather and keep you safe from flying insects in the outside. Secondly is a sleeping bag. Sleeping bag will keep you warm at night while sleeping. The more expensive the sleeping bag, the more lightweight and well insulated it is. Thirdly is water bottle or canteen. Water is very essential for survival in the outdoors and water not always available in the outdoors. So by bringing a water bottle or canteen, you can fill it with water for later use. Fourthly is flashlight or headlamp. These two things is very convenient to have as it allows campers to see at night. Fifth is a first aid kit. This is the most important equipment to prepare for emergencies, such as by bringing it can treat minor injuries, stop serious bleeding, and so on. Sixth is navigation tools. Getting lost or stranded in a wooded area can be very dangerous. That is why campers must always bring a navigation tools, such as map and compass. Seven is a fire starter. Camping can be tough when there is no campfire since it have many advantages. So by bringing fire starter, which is a flint and steel or lighter, campers can start making fire easily. Eight is rope. These pieces of camping equipment can secure almost everything, including tents, equipment, and people. 9 is a mess kit. This is a portable folding device that contains a small skillet, pot, cup, and plate. 10 is pocket knife. Pocket knife can be used for a variety of different tasks, such as to trim a rope, wooden figurines, a sharpen, a stick, and many more. demonstrating video about the proper technique to loading camping equipment in backpack for on trails. First, place any lightweight items at the very bottom of your external frame backpack. Second, the heaviest items or bulky items, put it at the top compartment and close to your bag. Third, medium weight item should then be placed in the middle and furthest from your bag. Okay, now let's look at the demonstrating video for off-trail. First, place the lightweight items at the very bottom of your internal frame backpack. Second, items with the most weight or bulky items have to be centered, height between the shoulder blades and close to your back. Third, medium weight items need to put around the bulky items. And the last one, fill the outside pockets with anything you want that easy to access. Advantages of properly loading the backpack. The first one is allow to move easily. A well-loaded pack will feel balanced and give you a stability when resting on your hips and prevent from nasty falls. Next, provide comfort. The bag is going to feel a lot lighter than a poorly packed bag. And lastly, easy to get gear or equipment. It should be packed conveniently so you can get to the gear or equipment that you need without emptying everything out. Disadvantages of improper loading the backpack. Firstly is safety risk. The shoulder strap will put more stress on the shoulders than normal. In difficult terrain, the wrong packing technique can become a safety risk. Second, can cause injury. The unhealthy pressure on back, shoulders, neck and hips can risk injury to you, such as muscle strain. Finally, limited space. Items that you want to bring will not fit the bag well. The conclusion is by understanding how to fill the necessities backpack to be brought to the camping properly can provide various advantages like that have been stated in the previous segment and can even add new knowledge that by pack efficiently, a backpack can swallow an amazing array of gear. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. My name is Muhammad Didat bin Amaluddin and I'm from Faculty of Sports Science and Recreation, and my campus is at UiTM Arau Perlis. My student ID is 2018214376 and this is my 5th semester and I'm from RSR 1115C. So the topic of review that I'm gonna be talking about is about orienteering. First of all, what is orienteering? Orienteering is a competitive form of land navigation. It is for all ages and degrees of fitness and skill. It provides the suspense and excitement of a treasure hunt, a sport that requires navigation using maps to determine the unknown place with the checkpoints marked with orange and white flag. Orienteering is a sport in which orienteers use an accurate, detailed map and a compass to find points in the landscape. It can be enjoyed as a walk in the wood or as a competitive sport. The history of orienteering begins in the late 19th century in Sweden. The first orienteering competition open to the public was held in Norway in 1897. In 1959, an international orienteering conference was held. After World War II, orienteering spread throughout the world, and in 1961, orienteering organization representing 10 European nations founded the International Orienteering Federation, IOF. So we have 3 types of orienteering. The first one is cross-country orienteering, the second one is score orienteering, and the last one is relay orienteering. So for the first one is cross-country orienteering. It is the most common type of orienteering. Each checkpoint has attached to it a small plastic bag with a cardboard model of one item, for example symbol, animal and vegetable. Race to each of the checkpoint and write down what the term for the identified item to demonstrate that you reached each checkpoint. The person or group with the lowest finishing time and all checkpoints item identified correctly is the winner. A minute is added for each incorrect checkpoint or checkpoint miss. The second one is score orienteering. The competitor need to find as many checkpoints as possible in a given time. The near checkpoint carry a low point value, while those greater distance and more difficult carry higher point values. The competitor must decide their own strategy to gain higher points in given time. So the last one is relay orienteering. Each team member does a short course and tags the next team member. This may be used in combination with project orienteering or string orienteering. So now we're gonna go to equipment for orienteering. So the first one is orienteering map. It is specially prepared for use in orienteering competition. It is extra details and to help the competitor navigate through the competition area, and also map reading skill is needed. The second one is orienteering compass. It is useful for taking bearing and for orienteering the map to navigate and what direction we should be going. And with the aid of compass, the orienter can pinpoint exact location of control site. So the third one is puncher. Every control flag have puncher tied to it. The orienter punch to impress the pattern made by the teeth into the control card. At the finish line, the organizer will verify that the punch patterns correspond to the correct controls. Next we have is control card. The orienter punch a pattern in the corresponding number box on the control card. It will allow the organizer to verify that the correct controls will be seated. And then we have control flag. A control flag represents checkpoint for each side of location. Have striking color, which is white and orange, and it should be placed in open areas so that the competitors can see it easily. So now I'm gonna talk about the format competition. Most orienteering courses are organized in a classic point-to-point navigation format, which requires the orienter to visit all the controls in order. No controls can be skipped. The object is to find all the controls as quickly as possible. Two other event formats that are often used are Score O and Sprint O. So the first one is Score O, an orienteering event where participants are given a time limit, usually 1 hour, to collect as many controls as possible in any order. Controls typically each have a point value, with more remote location having a higher value. Orienters who exceed the time limit will incur penalty points. So the second one is Sprint O, a very fast-paced orienteering event usually organized in an urban area or non-technical terrain such as park or university campus. Controls are relatively easy to locate, with good road choice and running speed being the deciding factors in achieving the fastest time. So now I'm gonna talk about the course safety. So there are a few safety tips of orienteering before we getting started. So the first one is strictly observe all rules, cautions and advice from event staff. Make sure you fill out all the necessary paperwork at registration. Participate in orienteering events held in smaller parks and stick to the easy or very easy course if you are a beginner. And please carry a whistle. You are required to blow on the whistle if you are get injured or seriously lost. The emergency signal is 6 blasts at 10-second intervals. Repeat every 2 minutes. So next is safety tips on the track. We should keep in mind that the most direct road is often the hardest. Study the map carefully and choose the most appropriate route for our skill and fitness level. We should wear a long sleeve top and long trousers to reduce the risk of cuts and graze. And we should wear a watch to keep track of time. Keep our map inside a waterproof bag. And lastly, observe the items listed in the legend on our map, as this will provide important information about the terrain, features and potential hazard on the course. Things that we should remember in orienteering is orienteering involves running or walking while navigating by compass through challenging environment such as bushland. If you are a beginner, participate in orienteering event held in smaller parts and stick to the easy or very easy course. If lost or injured, stay still and blow our whistle 6 times at 10-second intervals. Repeat every 2 minutes until help arrive. So actually there are a lot of benefit of orienteering. It help you get a great workout. It builds up our self-confidence. It improves map reading, and it also will help our mental challenges, and it will provide physical challenges for us. So now I'm gonna talk about the disadvantage of learning orienteering. So in my opinion, I think there is no disadvantage of learning orienteering because it will give a lot of benefit and knowledge to us, but there is some disadvantage in orienteering. Orienteering usually involves a lot of physical activities which require both strength and endurance. It is a competitive sport where participants find themselves thinking, running and moving at a fast pace. The goal of winning sometimes interrupts the participant mind to think over their safety as a priority and would somehow result to unexpected injuries along the course, such as sprain and those other which affect muscle, tendons and joints. Wearing safety gears during orienteering is the top most important and should be considered as a priority, putting into consideration the cost which the participant will take and where it involves mostly of parks and forests, where some environmental factors might become a contributing cause for bruise, wounds, cuts, laceration and other accidents. In every competition, there is always a winner. Though orienteering activity promotes camaraderie, there is still a minimum possibility that the losers might not be able to take the defeat smoothly, which could bring the challenge to a different and unfavorable level. Losing is also as its great radar range, where the participant fails to prepare himself for the orienteering. As an orienteer, one must anticipate the event and the materials needed to compete in the said activity. Just say, for example, food and water are essentials during the whole orienteering course. Failure to bring this along might just complicate the situation as the participant will no longer be able to think clearly and effectively, which is basically needed most especially for decision making. Not to mention the other effect of hunger and thirst to the human body. The disadvantage of orienteering are lesser in comparison to the benefit it has in store for the participant. However, no matter how small in number these disadvantages are, it is still important to take note about it to prevent it from occurring as much as possible. So in conclusion, all participants will know how orienteering works and what the benefit that they will get when playing orienteering activity. Then they also learn many valuable outdoor skills that they can use in their daily life. This activity also can help improving their map reading skill, and automatically it can build their own confidence and belief in themselves. The last but not least, orienteering is one of the best outdoor activity because it involves our physical skill and can generate our quickness of thinking among us. So that's all from me. See you guys later. Stay safe.
So we start with introduction of kayak. Kayaking is a fun activity that involves moving through water in small water vessel with the aid of a double blade paddle. It allows the boat drive to maneuver through waterway by sitting face forward and propelling ahead with alternating side to side paddle stroke. The paddler sit in the cockpit with the leg extended beneath or beneath a closed deck, leaving the upper body free and exposed. So for the history of kayaking is the word of kayak, K-I-A-K, is meaning of man boat in Eskimo. The kayak was probably originated from Greenland and it was used by Eskimos. The kayak were made a stretching animal skin over a wooden frame, and cord generally only carry one man at a time. So in kayak, there are several types of kayak. So the slalom kayak is O-shaped on the top, has curved hull, it is sharp on the bow or front. The length of slalom kayak is about 6 meter. This kayak is easy for extreme roll technique that can height and stability. For next type of kayak is Mandesta kayak. Mandesta kayak at V shape at the hull. It can help to make easier to resist the stream or current. This kayak is difficult to control in the water, and it is suitable for tournament. The third of kayak that I will show you is Autosport kayak. Autosport kayak had U-shape flat but bottom hull. This type is very stable in all water situation, also especially for those who common into the kayak activity. So the next part is anatomy of kayak and the pedal. As you can see in this picture, there are anatomy of kayak that can see the front part of the boat is a bow, and the stern is the rear or the back of the boat. So we start with number 1. Number 1 is the deck, is the top side of kayak. Number 2 is hull. Hull is the bottom pieces of kayak. Then we go through the number 4 is the cockpit, where you get in and command your craft. And number 5 is the seat, is the base of operation that sit within your cockpit. Number 6 is combing, rim of or lip of the large hole leading into the cockpit. Number 7 is deck line, is that can be the stretchy or the buggy, or non-stretchy like a static. And the number 8 is H portal to inner cargo area. And number 9 is carry handle, and easy place to get a grip. Number 10 is rudder or skate, is a static drop down feed and rudder. So the second part is the anatomy of the pedal. So as you can see in this picture, you can see the femoral, the shaft, the width, the length, the throat, and the pedal. So the femoral is the mid section of the pedal shaft. Most kayak pedal can be taken apart for the storage. So the next is the shaft, which is the long part that you hang onto. A bend shaft give me more significant stroke. And the next one is rod, the section of the pedal where the blade join the shaft. And the last one is the blade. This is section of the pedal that we put into the water to propel the kayak. Blade can have many shapes, symmetrical and asymmetrical. So in this session, we'll go to explain 5 types of PFD or personal floating device. So the first type is jacket, offshore life jacket. Is over 20 pounds of bouncy, designed to turn an unconscious person face up. The type 1 PFD suited for the Rogers seats. So the second one type is shore buoyant vest. So it's minimum 15.5 pound of bouncy, designed to turn an unconscious person face up. The third one is the floating heads, minimum 15.5 pound of bouncy, not designed to turn an unconscious person face up, more comfortable for water sport. And the next is type, the fourth type is throwable device, minimum 16.5 pound of bouncy, designed to be cramped and not warm. And the last one of type PFD is special use life jacket, must be used in accordance with any requirement on the approval label. So we go to the next review about rescue technique. So the second one of rescue technique in kayak is H rescue. So the step is, the first one is lift the kayak away from the sea and turn it over to the drain water. The second step is two kayak of rescue will have to move closer to the kayak and the victim must hold to their rescue kayak. The next is the rescue move closer to each other, then lift the kayak out of the water. This create H formation. Next is then they need shake the kayak to drain the remaining water, and the last step is then they simply put the kayak back in the water. So the third rescue, which is HI rescue, then two kayak in rescue will have to move closer to the kayak that is capsized. Next, the two kayaks have to pick up the kayak pedal and position them in between their two kayak. They create the formation of H. So the next is pedaling technique. So in pedaling technique, we have a lot pedaling that can use in kayak. So the first one technique pedaling is I want to explain is forward stroke. So the step is switch your shoulder and chest to the front of the boat using good toes rotation. Hold the pedal steadily. Then place the blade in the water. Just blow below your feet and at the bone stern with the pedal in the water horizontal. Then initiate the forward stroke with the pulling the blade backwards. Next, able parallel running alongside the boat with the pedal stroke, and use your power go on the pedal to guide which way you want to go. So the second pedaling technique is backstroke. So backstroke is the same as the forward stroke by doing it the opposite way. So the forward sweep step that use in kayak is you need to place the pedal up near your toes, then keep the shaft nice and horizontal, then pull the pedal in the water and pull it backward with a little power pull, and the last, the kayak then will spin depends on what direction you want to guide it. So next is backward sweep. So the last step is the backward sweep. Start at the back of the boat, then place the blade behind your seat, put the blade in the water and push forward with a little power with one push, then the boat will rotate. The step that used in alternate combination 360 stroke is this technique require the combination between forward sweep and backward sweep. So for the draw stroke step pedaling technique in kayak is pedaling goes slightly at your rear end to keep your rear end from sliding out. Make the pedaling vertically. Then face the pedal with your body and get your top hand over the bottom hand. Then put the blade on the water, and the blade will actually like kill the kayak will slightly according to the direction you make. So we go to the next review, which is signal in kayak. So often the time a signal is used to direct pedalers to take particular route from their viewing point. So the first signal is stop. The stop signals means stop now as fast as possible. Wait for the new signal. So the second one is the rafting. Just put it vertical pedals. So the signal. So the kayakis know there are the signal for the rafting. So that one is left or right. So this signals means you can do this signal either with the arms or with the pedals. It's important to give this signal only if the repeat or the drop can be done without any other additional information or scouting. So the last one is call off an emergency signal. Okay, this signals means someone is injured and I need a first aid or emergency. If you see this signal, you might take your first aid or be ready to call the emergency service. There are 4 basic formation in kayak when we do kayak activity. The first one is single one formation. This formation for make forward movement at the same time. The second one is double line formation. This formation can use if the line too long and you need to make it 2 because it is easy to handle. Also, this formation can see each other person. The third of formation in kayak is abreast. Abreast can do when 2 or more people are next to each other and moving in the same direction. This formation will foretell any information. Also, go for in one group. The last formation in kayak is diamond formation. This formation basically more to rescue when other paddlers are in condition beyond on what they can normally handle. This formation also have some technique that to go forwards movement together.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Luman Kemen Azam and I'm from Arisa Arwa 15C. Alright, in this video, I'm going to explain to you guys about abseiling. So, what is abseiling? Alright, so basically, abseiling is a technique is being used by the climbers, mountaineers, cavers, canyoners, search and rescue, and rope access technician to descend cliff or slopes when they are steep and or dangerous to descend without protection. So many climbers use this technique to protect established anchor from damage. Rope access technician also use this technique as a method to access difficult to reach areas from above for various industrial application like maintenance, construction, inspection and welding. To descend safely, abseilers use a variety of techniques to increase the friction on the rope to the point where it can be controlled comfortably. This technique range from wrapping the rope around the body to use a custom built device like a rock. Practitioners choose a technique based on speed, safety, weight and other circumstantial concern. So, the theory about abseiling is the term rappel in reference to the technique is attributed by Roger Friesenroch in 1944. Friesen in turn attribute the technique of abseiling to Jean Carlet Stratton, a Chamonix guide who lived in 1840 to 1925. So, Carlet originally devised the technique during a failed solo attempt of Petit Dreux in 1876. After many attempts, some of the solo, he managed to reach the summit of the Petit Dreux in 1879 in the company of 2 other hired Chamonix guides, which is Prosper Payet and Frederick Folligut. So, during the ascent, Carlet managed to master the technique. Alright, now we come to the equipment. So, there are 9 equipment that are being used for abseiling. Alright, so for the first equipment is rope. Okay, for abseiling, we kindly use static rope and dynamic rope. Next equipment is anchor. So usually anchor is being used to construct from the tree, boulders, ice or rock features using webbing or cordelette or any rock climbing equipment. So some areas have fixed anchor such as bolt or pythons. Next equipment is a descender. So a descender is a friction device or friction hitch that allows rope to be played out in a controlled fashion under load with a minimal effort by the person who controlling it. Next is climbing harness. So basically climbing harness will be fixed around the waist or whole body used to secure the descender. Fit climbing harness is important because it can prevent from suspension trauma. Okay, next is safety backup. So safety backup is typically a friction hitch such as prusik, clamp haze knot, or auto block knot that wrap around the rope as to prevent uncontrolled descent. Alright, next equipment is helmet. So basically helmet is being used to protect head from falling rock or bumping. Next equipment is glove. So glove is being used to protect hand from the rope and from colliding with the wall. So it may increase the risk of accident by becoming caught in the descender. Next equipment is boots or climbing shoes. So this equipment is being used to increase the friction against the rock. Okay, the last equipment is knee pad and elbow pad. So this equipment is being used to prevent from harm during the activities. Alright guys, now I'm going to show you guys how to abseiling with the proper equipment and with the proper technique. Alright.
What you have to do is identify the waist loop, which is the big top one, and then your 2 leg loops. Hold at the front, so where you've got this attachment point here, and then step one of your legs through the waist loop and then through the correct leg loop. The left leg is going to go through the left loop and the right through the right. The whole thing up so it's round or up by your waist, and then get the leg loops right to the top of your legs. The most important thing you do when you're actually putting on your harness is ensure that this waistband goes above your hip bones. Your hip bones actually stop this harness falling back down again whilst you're climbing. So it's vital that they go up that high. If you can't pull your harness up that high, it's because your leg loops are too tight. So you're going to have to loosen your leg loops up and then get that harness above your hip bones. Tighten the harness as much as you can and then have a quick check that it is above your hip bones. An easy way of checking that is this waistband should be about belly button level. Once you've got your waistband tightened, tighten your leg loops up a little bit and then check the tightness of everything. Your leg loops should be touching your leg all the way around, but you should still be able to get your hand in there, maybe even a fist, but it should still be pretty tight around your legs. Your waist one must be a lot tighter than that. If you breathe in, you can actually get your hand in there, but that's all you can manage. The final thing is just neaten it all up. So getting all these loose straps, I'll get them out of the way so they're not going to be in my way when I'm climbing. Make a prusik loop. All you need is about 1 metre length of rope. Now this rope is about 5 millimetres thickness, so you can do 3, 4, 5 millimetres for your prusik loop there. And then all you have to do is tie these 2 ends together. The best knot to do is actually to use a double fisherman's knot. So you're just wrapping the rope around, back over itself, and then back down the 2 loops. And then same on the other side, so wrapping the rope around, back over itself, and then back down the 2 little loops. And once you've done that, you want to tighten the prusik loop, pull the knots up against each other and get it really, really, really tight, because you don't want it coming in undone. And there is your prusik loop. Climb heist is another knot that can be used for climbing up a fixed rope. All you need is a single prusik loop like that. Start with the knot and then actually start wrapping the prusik loop back around your fixed climbing rope. Now, sometimes you need 3 wraps, sometimes you need 4 wraps, depending on what type of prusik cord you've got. Here I've actually gone for 5 wraps. And then to finish it off, this loop is now going to pass through the bottom loop, like that. This knot can then be clipped into my harness, and it will slide up the rope, but not back down the rope. And that is how to tie a climb heist knot. At bowling, all you have to do is take the loop, the end of the rope, through wherever you're going to tie it. So I'm going to tie it through my harness, So I'm going to take it through my harness. Now the complicated bit is getting the next stage right. You have to make a loop here, not on this end of the rope, but on the other end, and you have to make a loop like that. The way that you can tell is that this loop here, the single bit of the rope, is actually coming out from underneath that one there. So I've got the two ropes together, and this loop, this bit of the strand, is coming out from underneath the loop I've just made. There's a little story that goes behind this. This is your rabbit, and that's your rabbit hole. So your rabbit comes out your rabbit hole, it goes round the back of the tree, and then it goes back down the rabbit hole. And you end up with a knot that looks like that. Tighten it all up, and then a stopper knot at the end to make it safe. And there you have a bowline. I'm Lawrence from Mountain Ships, and I'm going to show you how to safely abseil. I've come to Bowles Outdoor Centre because they have let us use their abseiling station here. So the first thing I'm going to do is thread one end of my rope through the top part of this abseil. And now if I just pull the two ropes together constantly like that, I will end up with the middle of the rope at the top here. So I'm just going to keep on doing that until I've got the middle of the rope right at the top. It's really important to end up with the middle up there, otherwise my rope might not reach the ground. Once I've done that, I can now coil up the rope and gently throw it off. So I'm going to have a quick look over, make sure there's no one down there, and then give it a bit of a warning shout as well. Below! I can see the rope has reached the ground, so now all I have to do is attach my abseil plate or belay plate onto the rope. I'm going to attach my belay plate onto the rope. The rope's got two strands coming down, and there are two holes in the belay plate. So I'm going to make a loop of rope and then put each one of those two loops through the two holes. And then clip it all onto the carabiner, which is attached to the abseil part of my harness. Don't forget to do the carabiners up. Now before I go, I'm going to attach a prusik loop onto the bottom here. Now the reason why you do this is if I was to abseil down and accidentally let go of the rope, the prusik loop would actually hold me. So I'm going to get a loop of rope here and then start wrapping it around the abseiling line. 3 or 4 wraps is normally enough, and I'll end up with 2 loops, which I can then get a carabiner and clip those 2 loops together. That carabiner can now clip either onto your leg loop, or my harness has actually got a special loop here which I can clip it into. And again, do the carabiner up and you're ready to go. To abseil down then, I'm just going to turn myself around and then put some weight actually into the harness. The prusik loop is actually gripping the rope, so if I slide that down, I can actually start going down. But this acts as a backup. If I ever let go with both my hands, this will act as a backup. But I'm never going to do that completely. I should never rely on it. It is only a backup. To go down, lean back in the harness, push the prusik loop down the rope, and then just slide down the rope. Keep your feet up in front of you, and that will stop you scraping on the rock as you go down. And that's how to abseil.
Alright, so now I'm going to tell you guys about the advantage of abseiling. So the first one is convenience. It allows one to descend safely in situations where there are no walls, such as caving. Although most of the cables would use a descender via single rope technique SRT, which is more safer. Alright, the next advantage of abseiling is fun. So fun is certainly more exciting than doing a normal abseil, but still require greater skill. For the really adventurous, try it face down. Alright, now I'm going to tell you guys about the disadvantage of abseiling. Alright, the first disadvantage of abseiling is danger. So freefall rappelling, as we all climbing sport, still contain a considerable amount of danger, but this can be minimized with the proper equipment and training. But it's advised for you not to try with your own self unless you know what you are doing. Okay, next disadvantage of abseiling is skill. So one need to be experienced in abseiling, climbing, and general rope skill before attempting freefall rappelling. The person who control your safety line must be as good as you, preferably better. Right, now I'm going to conclude about the abseiling. So abseiling give a participant a feeling of achievement for various reasons. Some may be an achievement in conquering their fear of height, others may be an achievement in conquering greater height. In abseiling, confidence building is developed even in the early part of training and orientation, because participants are led to feel secure that all the safety measures have been taken before abseiling. So they learn to trust in their knowledge that they have been taught and their skills that they have been acquired from such learning. So in completing a successful abseil, confidence level are boosted as one feels as a sense of achievement. Alright, I think that's all from me about abseiling, and I hope you guys enjoy watch the video, and I really hope that you guys get the new knowledge about abseiling. So that's all from me. Thank you.
The topic that I'm going to be talking about is survival, which is universal edible plant test. Eating even a tiny bite of a toxic plant can cause extreme gastrointestinal problems or even death. Survival experts devise this test to determine a plant's edibility. When in doubt, follow this step before chowing down. It's a slow process but necessary. But you guys should remember that this is for emergency only. The first plan is we should always be positively identify everything that we eat. So the first step is that we should separate the plants into its various parts, such as root, stems, leaf, buds, and flowers. We should only focus on one piece of the plant at a time. The second step is we should smell it. A strong and unpleasant odor is a bad sign. The third step is we should test for contact poisoning by placing a piece of the plant on our inner elbow or wrist for a few minutes. If our skin burns, itches, feel numb, or break out in a rash, we should not eat the plant. Next, if the plant passed the skin test, and then we can prepare a small portion the way that we plan to eat it. And in my opinion, boiling is always a good bet. Before taking a bite, touch the plant to our lips to test for burning or itching. If there's no reaction after 50 minutes, take a small bite, chew it and hold it in our mouth for 15 minutes. If the plant tastes very bitter or soapy, spit it out. And lastly, if there's no reaction in our mouth, swallow the bite and wait several hours. If there's no ill effect, we can assume this part of plant is edible. Repeat the test for other parts of the plants, and some plants have both edible and inedible parts.
Alright, now I'm gonna show you guys the type of edible plant. Alright, the first one is clover, second one is dandelion, the third one is seaweed, and the last one is chicory. Right, now I'm gonna tell you guys how to taste the edible plant. Alright, there are 4 steps on how to taste the edible plant. Right, the first step is place a piece of the plant on your inner elbow or your wrist for a few minutes. If your skin burns, itches, feel numb, or break out in a rash, don't eat the plants. Okay, alright. The second step is touch the plant to your lips for burning or itching. The third step is if the lip test pass, touch to the inside of your mouth and allows 15 minutes for adverse reaction. If the plant tastes very bitter or soapy, spit it out. Alright, the last step is after eating a small taste with no ill reaction for 8 hours, you can then eat one handful and again wait for 8 hours before concluding the food is good to go. Alright.
The advantage of conducting the correct technique for edible plant test, which is to determine whether or not a plant is safe to eat. Okay, if you ever find yourself stranded in the wilderness without food, you have to figure out how to feed yourself, because many plants in the wild are edible but many are also poisonous. So by conducting the correct technique, you can determine whether plants that you find can be eaten safely or not, because by choosing which food to eat in the wild can either make or break you. Implications of consuming wild plants without practicing the edible test can cause negative effect for your health. Moreover, this edible plant test is only used during emergencies because it has many risks. So without following the proper technique, you will get a negative effect such as: first, it may cause digestion problems. Second, you could end up with diarrhea. Lastly, eating even a tiny bite of a toxic plant can cause extreme gastrointestinal problems or even death.